the blog. The PlayStation blog. Hold on a second. Rebirth developer interviews reveal fresh gameplay details as a new trailer debuts at State of Play. Today at a State of Play included a brand new look at Rebirth. The trailer surely will be a delight to long-term 7 fans as well as new players eager to enjoy what happens after the conclusion of 7 Remake. As Cloud and the company embark on a journey that takes them to the world outside of Midgar, in the trailer we caught glimpses of new party members sprawling open areas to explore. They keep saying this, man.
They keep sprawling open areas. For them to stress sprawling open areas, it's gonna break the internet when they don't deliver on that. If and when they don't deliver on the whole true open area, because the last time I thought about an open area, it was Final Fantasy 15. Is it gonna play like you would maps on Final Fantasy 15, but enhanced and improved with what they've done in Remake? It's teasing a lot that's giving us questions to doubt.
Like, they are going ham. They're going so ham at, like, our game is open world, we're going to give you a fuckload of stuff to run around.
Open world. It's been yelled at multiple times, but if they don't deliver, it's going to cause a ruckus.
And look at a load of stuff. And the reimagining of some iconic moments from the original game. Rather than leave you speculating, key staff on the game joined us to share not only more insight on the trailer, but also additional gameplay details about the game. The roundtable includes 7 Rebirth, Totase, Nomura, and Hamaguchi.
Can you explain? Oh, there's questions. Nice. Okay, cool. Thank you.
They say different things here. Oh shit. Can you explain what we're seeing about the combat system? Has it remained?
It's been enhanced because we noticed like characters are comboing with each other. But where does that leave the third party member is what I'm trying to figure it out. Will you be able to can you switch characters mid combat in the same way that 10 did, but better? Because we've seen in the trailer before that there's 3 characters playing at the same time, and then over in the distance, outside of the circle of combat, other party members were cheering you on, like it was like a soccer match. Will there be a way to where if one party member dies, the furthest the character on the edge of that arena comes in? Or will it be game over when all characters in the combat are dead, without considerations of the characters outside of the ring of combat? If they allow you to quickly switch, I mean, it was actually, hold on. Technically, it may just let you have a game over because you did not win this confrontation with your party, therefore you lose. I don't remember if 10 allowed you to switch in party members once one person died, because in 12 you were allowed to like pause the menu, switch out your dead member with a live member, and then the game adjusts to you jumping in that character. So in terms of like how they're gonna change up the combat, I'm hoping it is good.
Untouched since FF7 Remake, or have you altered anything for 7 Rebirth? I mean, obviously, it was dual text and all this wild stuff. I want to highlight the new synergy moves from the battle system. The new mechanic allows the player to use synergy commands and abilities freely at any time by using up a gauge charge in a similar manner to limit breaks.
Similar to limit breaks.
Ever. Hold on a second. You can use synergy commands, new thing, and abilities freely, different thing, at any time, doesn't require ETB, by using a gauge charge in a similar manner to limit breaks. That, I need to see it in action.
There's 2 meters that happen at the same time?
My brain is already racked. Yeah, we saw the pips, right? Yeah, I get it. We saw the pips in the trailer, but like how that builds? So through battles, players will feel the relationships and bonds that have developed between the characters even more so than the previous game. We've also added skill trees as a new element of character growth.
Skill trees. So
you can unlock synergy abilities through skill trees too? with many new materia and new abilities not seen in the first game are available as well, so players will have even more options to customize and build character loadouts.
Oh god, I can definitely see where the 100 hours are gonna go, because you're gonna try to figure out how to min-max parties, how to like change the way people play. If it's a character's tree that lets you level up certain bits, are you gonna find out ways to just break? Is that another way to break the game, by providing more ways to break the game? I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Max. Not now, jeez. I don't want to hear about your stuff.
This guy went like 100% like RPG nerd mode up my ass. This dude was like, Nico was like, he just went
my stick,
and he went nuts. Like, this is the Baldur's Gate 3 of Final Fantasy games, is what it's sounding like.
You're so yeah, because you're telling me that not only can you, it's giving you mechanic to use synergy commands, one additional command, and ability to freely at any time. It's separate from your ATB. Similar manner to limit break. So you have two different gauges. Either I can unleash synergy, break, or break, synergy. That's one way to play it. And then, well, are there going to be like relationship missions that have to be played out to then boost that synergy command? Because synergy commands allows two characters to combo with each other. But are you telling me there's a tree that lets you develop their relationship, and how strong that relationship is builds up the synergy strength? And then it just tells you there's a skill tree to further increase your character by certain percents, by certain numbers. And you can unlock synergy abilities through the skill tree in the same way that a sphere grid is in 10. New materia on top of what we already have to deal with. So not only there's shell, protect, and everything else, there's a litmus of summons you can use too. Ugh.
This is described essentially like ultimate nerd Final Fantasy shit. Like what? How much are we talking here?
Because also,
what? We're not gonna have bear sex or anything like that, but there's like all the nerdy stat shit and all that kind of like, yeah, multi-classing, like.
And like, you can even like, I can see where they're even gonna tease the idea of certain builds to where if you can line up the skill trees appropriately, this entire team is gonna be lined up to be physical based or mage based, or they're gonna put aside resources for this wombo combo duo.
Like all that bullshit that people love about that stuff that I didn't as much because it's like D&D and I don't like D&D, but still, like, it's got what? Are we talking about like this is some ultimate like nerdy RPG shit, like classes and builds and loadouts? And what? I'm gonna read that again because this sounds, to be completely honest, what is described in this shit, because I like Final Fantasy VII. I like its characters. I like its world. I like its story, obviously. But what I like about Final Fantasy VII so much is that it's a fun game to play. Like, it's such a video gamey-ass game. Even if you go back to the OG game, it's got problems because the first quarter of the game doesn't give you a ton of stuff to work with. But after that first quarter, they start hamming you a ton of, like, things and tools to mess around with and material loadouts and all of this stuff. So it's like, oh man, this is fun. Once you leave Midgar, it's like, oh, this is enjoyable. I can like manipulate enemies and get their abilities. I can now run around and make weird combinations with characters and stuff. Oh
yeah, because as right now, like the synergy moves are gonna elevate combat, and that's a level of gaming for 7 that we've never had before. So to stack the deck with more things to play, more things to live in the world with, because in order to further expand the 5-hour segment, there's a 5-hour segment that became Final Fantasy Remake, and Remake was a 40 to 50 to 70 odd hour game. To stretch out the gameplay of what is essentially a 5-hour content, it forced you to do content to make you world build, to make you feel loved into it, to make you live into this world, and make you care about Biggs and Wedge and Jesse and the little one much more than you should have. There was incorporated side missions and games to make you care about the red light district, to make you care about how the plate fell and how it affected people as a whole. It did so much to make you feel lived in, and you're telling me it's going to give Baldur's Gate vibes and energy to make you want to be isekai'd into a new world. This is crazy.
Oh, that's cool. That's one of the parts of FF7 that I think is genuinely enjoyable, was all the crazy materia min-maxing that you can do with characters and figuring out, but if I can combine this with this, does that affect that? I'm gonna try. It works. What the hell? Like, that part is some of the most fun gameplay-wise about FF7. To the point where it screwed with me, because the other Final Fantasy games after this that I try don't have stuff like that. The most interesting thing that happened in Final Fantasy games after that was like a sphere grid or the job system in Tactics. So to me, the job system in Tactics had a lot of experimentation that was really fun. So again, FF7 was a game that first introduced me to that shit. Oh, Gambits. Yeah, Gambits was also...
Gambits in 12, and changing properties of your party in 15 was a big thing too, because you can definitely give weapons to your friends that they may not have been familiar with, but that would change how they played.
Whoa! Gambits was really interesting. Junction quickly became unenjoyable in FF8 for me personally.
Because for the junctioning system was a way to become very powerful in the game very quickly. But the enemies scaled with you. So even if you spent the amount, as you can't play the game overpowered like a god, because the game scales with you. So even if you were to make all your characters level 9, level 99, it would essentially raise the other enemy too, making the game more difficult. So to junction system towards the end, without focusing on a leveling up aspect, was the way to play it.
Junction was like, but still nothing really matched the crazy experimentation that FF7 OG had with figuring out what I can do with these characters. Like, how can I mix and do all this stuff? So again, FF7 isn't just a game with like cool characters, cool story, great visuals, like yada yada yada. It was a thing that nothing ever matched like how much fun I had with materia. So to describe what they're describing here, Hamaguchi goes so ham on describing what they're doing gameplay wise as an expansion of what we had in the original, an expansion on that FF7 remake, because they still had a fairly decent chunk of materia with some pretty interesting things you could do with it. There wasn't that much experimentation in 7 remake. There wasn't that much, but it was still pretty good. It wasn't bad. We obviously want more, and it was like, oh, give us loadouts, give us like all this crazy shit, give us like stuff. I really want to I want to play a game a certain way and then play through it again a completely different way and like get some wildly different thing to be.
And that's really to give. I'm sorry, just like I'm trying to think about like how he is right. There's definitely in the same vein that I wanted to play Ninja Gaiden multiple times. It's a very short game, but it was so versatile to where I can play the game with just the ninja sword and then just the nunchucks, and I can probably play a different style with just the bow staff and the great sword. It gave me a mechanic to then live in the world and beat the game in multiple ways. So for them to suggest the versatility of certain games, you can definitely be put into a situation where you can lock yourself and play only these 3 characters, or these 2 characters, or this combination of characters. Yes. And you can, from this loadout of these 3 characters, you can make this team one way or the other. So to further expand it is a love and joy.
Be real, 7 remake didn't really do that. There was really not ways that you can play the game vastly different. But they did give us New Game Plus, and New Game Plus was like, oh, well, what if we just remove items? Oh, okay. Well, that actually was pretty fun, you know? To be real, 7 Remakes New Game Plus was pretty fun with no items. And that was a new way to play the game. But beyond that, is there like really varied ways to enjoy FF7 Remake? I mean, you kind of got to go out of your way to do that. Now, with that in mind, read this again. You have synergy commands that can be used at any time with gauge charges in a similar way to limit breaks. That's sounding like there's things that you can do in combat outside of just building ATB. So through battles, you're going to build relationships with characters even more so than previous games, because now they added skill trees based on those relationships of character growth, with new synergy abilities through those skill trees as well. Many new materia with new abilities not seen in the first game are available, so players will have even more options to customize and build character loadouts.
Like, what spells are we missing?
The skill tree of part 1, God, we've only covered one paragraph.
That's only been one paragraph too.
Was in the weapons, right? So the crazy space universe weapon skill tree was kind of the options that you had to build out and fill out each thing. It's making it sound like they're maybe not gonna have that again, but instead put it on the character, where now a character is gonna have their own unique sphere grid or skill tree or some shit in relation to working with other characters.
And that was done. That aspect alone was done really well. An instance of that was in 10.10.2, was in the Final Fantasy X and Final Fantasy 12 Zodiac Age, where the international editions allowed each characters to have different boards. So it gave you the idea of like, oh, I can customize my Final Fantasy 12 character in this particular way by having them stuck to 2 different sphere grids. And those sphere grids could be like interchangeable. And these sphere grids had to match another characters to make this team fully synergetic. Otherwise, it wouldn't have worked. So there's increasingly different ways to play the game to make not one person's playthrough similar to the other.
So maybe, I don't know. It's hard to tell if we're not going to get the same interesting weapon unlocking thing, because I did like that. The cool weapon thing, hey, you get this new weapon, it does this new crazy shit. Oh, I'm like, that was a great idea. That was some very fun RPG bullshit.
Because, like that is right, because you had to gain experience in the equipment before that skill became permanently learned and splashable regardless of what weapon you were equipping. So you can have the Buster Sword and have a different limit break ability on it because you mastered that skill on a different weapon to then be transferred over. So for this is another tool in your belt for more experiences
that they threw into 7 Part 1. Viewers got a glimpse of Red 13 in combat as part of the new trailer. Players are now able to control him directly. What can they expect in terms of his abilities and what makes him distinct? And a great party member in FF7 Rebirth's battles. So we're talking about Red 13 combat. The development team challenged themselves to give Red a new playstyle that felt different from the other characters. Good. Mm-hmm. He doesn't just have an ATB gauge, but also uses his own revenge gauge mechanic. Oh, shit. His revenge gauge charges when he guards against enemy attacks. And he can spend that charge to use various... Guarding is in the game again, obviously. He can spend that charge to use various abilities once the gauge is filled. Okay, so he's a defensive character. Mm-hmm. We've designed Red 13 as a new type of character that requires the player to strike a balance between offense and defense strategy, using the ATB gauge as a defensive... So he's like a tank. Interesting. I thought Red 13 would have been a character that they went full offense on. Instead, they made him a tank. Or like a balancing... tank build? Huh.
Okay.
Yeah, he's more defensive than Barrett, potentially, or he is another defensive style character. That's an interesting...
Right, because I think it's kind of foretelling when Barrett and Red 13, like, get along pretty well. Almost like they're in the same weight class, like, you know, the same character role. So for them to be both tank-like is be pretty cool, because Barrett is like a very tankish, like, long distance character, and you have Red 13 where he is up in your face. He's trying to guard and parry you, and then once the meter is filled up, he unleashes it. That's an aggressive gameplay.
Interesting take, because Barrett is like the Sentinel, right? Yeah, I think he even has an ability called Sentinel in the other one. But
Yeah,
it's
he
like
does.
they're trying to strike a balance. He's defensive and then offensive. Okay. That's an interesting take. I wasn't ready for that. We've seen Red and Kate Sith shown in playable characters in the footage release. Also shows another character who looks like Vincent.
Looks like Vincent. He is Vincent. like you're telling me that you don't know our flamboyant gun wielding slinger that it looks like Trigun, but it's better.
So will he be playable as well? Will the party expand further? Nomura says the original party
Because we're
members are
missing
all
Sid as well. Sid is the one character we have no teaser of. So he's the last character.
present in Rebirth.
And he uses the pole arm. So to incorporate pole arm with the way Cat Sith uses their Pokemon is going to be a thing. On top of Vincent's gun range, he's going to be a mid-range player versus Barrett's long-range Sentinel role. But he does have a claw attachment to make him a melee character, but I never used Barrett as a claw user, so it's not a weapon that I used for him.
In the previous title, 7 Remake, Red 13 became an accompanying member in the second half of the game, and he'll be an official playable party member starting in Rebirth. Surely, or similarly, there are characters who are accompanying members in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth that will become official party members in the next title. Similarly, there are characters who are accompanying members in FF7 Rebirth that will be playable party members in the next title.
Because we never had the chance to properly control Red in the original remake game, and I don't remember there's another character as well. But I will say that if what they're saying is true, the original party members are all present in the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth game. So that means the original party members are Cloud, Tifa, Aerith, Barrett, Red, Cat Sith, Vincent. Hold on, wait. Is Vincent the last one? And Sid. Sid was the last character. He's the polearm dude. And from what they're saying, in the second half of the game, 13 became an accompanying member of the second half of the game, but he will be an official playable character at the start of Rebirth. Characters who are accompanying members in Final Fantasy Rebirth that will become official. So from that reading alone, is that foretelling? Because we saw a trailer of Sephiroth being an accompanying member of Cloud. Will that mean that we get to play? Are they going to try to make Sephiroth as a party member in the final game? And if worlds are combining, does that mean that there's another bigger bad that's worse than Sephiroth, and Sephiroth is joining the party to fight that guy? Does that also mean there's going to be party members that Zack's going to introduce that we're not aware of, that are considered new? Does that mean Zack is going to be a playable character officially in the next title? It's hard to say, because we see cutscenes of Cloud carrying and unconsciously moving Cloud. Zack carrying Cloud the entire time. And Zack is definitely going to be a playable character, but does that mean that it's a foreshadow of a potential soldier trio? Maybe.
Welcome to Reverb.
Shush! I don't want to hear what you have to say about Reverb. I want to hear about because that's what I'm thinking about Max.
I'm sort of trying to process this accompanying. So we're saying in a hypothetical situation, in FF7 Rebirth, there's going to be party members that accompany you in this game, similar to the way Red 13 was an accompanying party
Like
member
Vincent
in Part
and
1, right?
Vincent and Sid,
so all
possibly.
they're saying is that there's going to be party members that join you on this adventure that will not be fully playable. They will be just there hanging out with you. But in the next game, they will become official party members. So are they saying that will be Sid and Vincent?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, we know
or
Yuffie's playable.
Sephiroth
We've literally
too.
seen Yuffie
And
playable.
Yuffie, right? I
But
forgot
what that
Yuffie. I forgot
gives
Yuffie.
me is the impression that gives me the impression that potentially Sid and Vincent are going to show up and help out, but not actually be playable. Which seems weird that they show Sid. That they show, I'm sorry, they show Vincent.
They
right?
never showed
Maybe they're
Sid.
talking about Turks and shit? I don't know. It says the original party members will all be present in FF7 Rebirth. So they're talking about all the characters that were accompanying members and from FF7 Remake Part 1. So they're pretty much talking about Red 13. In the previous title, Red 13, yeah, and then they say Red 13, he's officially playable now. Yeah, this is confusing. To me, this sort of gives the impression that Vincent and potentially Sid might not be playable until the next game. Yeah,
which is
doesn't
likely.
mean playable, right? I get it, but this is almost more confusing than just saying Vincent's not playable, right? Just tell me if Vincent's playable or not. Do we have to wait till the next game to get Vincent and Sid? Because that would be pretty weird, considering where it looks like we're going in the story. We're going all the way to Medill, dude. Like that is way after Rocket Town. We're going all the way, you know, potentially to the Northern Crater. That's way after Sid. That's way after Nibelheim. Like, what the hell's going on? You obviously are in Nibelheim when you're running into Vincent. Maybe they mean Zack? Yeah, I don't know, man.
Because I'm thinking Zack's going to be a playable character because it makes no sense to show cutscenes of Zack without being able to use them, because if it follows the two timeline theory, he is doing his own thing up until the climax against Sephiroth, in the same way that Cloud is doing his own thing up until the jump cliffhanger that he's performing on Sephiroth in that trailer. At some point, their stories will converge, and there will be a rebirth of the world. Maybe? No?
To me, this whole thing is either not a confirmation or deconfirmation. Hopefully we get more information about that from Tokyo Game Show of like, hey, do we know if these characters are going to be... It's too vague. I think, I will say, that's disappointing. If it goes the route where, yeah, we're going to have characters join you on the adventure, but you can't play as them yet again? That happens again? Where, yeah, Sid's going to be back there doing jumps and all this stuff, and Vincent's going to be back there shooting his gun. Mm-hmm. But you can't play as them? Again? Like, no.
That was honestly never an issue when... I don't think that was never really an issue, because... For Red 13 to be an official party member to play as shows... But it shows like an establishment of like, hey, we've built trust. And for Cat Sith, I don't know what missions we're going to be doing along with Wtphu. I don't know what's going to happen to... The road to them becoming a full party member has not been paved. And it just tells me that Sid and Vincent are going to be the last characters to be shown. But because of where things are picking up or slowing down, prevents them from being fully fleshed out characters to be considered fully party members.
Oh man, I think that is disappointing. I will still throw that out right now. If that is the choice that they eventually make for this, that will be pretty lame. I mean, it isn't a deal breaker, but it is like, come on, dude. Are they going to do the same thing that they did for Part 1, where Vincent is going to be DLC? I don't know. Well,
it doesn't look like a DLC. I'm hoping not, because the way Wtphu was a separate character in a DLC to further expand the world. And in the DLC, you also see Roche, and you see what he was up to. He was, after this showed the Plate 7 Intergrade showed Yuffie's chapter, because she is following the incident of the plate dropping. And so for them to give you a fight against the Deep Ground is a new thing. Will Deep Ground be something that gets introduced in this title? I don't know. It's world building again and again, and I don't think it's a problem if it helps push the story forward.
Find out. I'm sure there'll be more information. Either way, I don't like this answer, Nomura. Me no likey. The answer was too Nomurian. I have to consult the Elder Gods or some shit to actually get some qualifying information here.
I'm sorry.
Got a glimpse of Alexander and Odin. Can we expect more returning summons for Rebirth, or will any summons from Remake return? There will be many other summons.
Does that also mean that are we gonna collect summons like Pokemon? Are we gonna collect the summons like Final Fantasy X? Because I want that gives us an urgency to explore the world. Because if I remember correctly, Bahamut wasn't a character. You fight Bahamut. Does he become a summon? I don't know. I don't remember being able to use them, but I remember using some summons, but not all of them. And there was a carbuncle that you would have gotten as a summon if you downloaded the DLC, if you got it like pre-ordered, that was then later bought. So because the Bahamut fight in Final Fantasy VII Remake was an optional boss. So, are they going to provide that as an option later on? Because Alexander looked like a fight that happened in VR versus Odin. Odin was in the real world. No hold bars. Or is Odin a summons that is used as a tool, but not something that we can obtain?
Hamaguchi, there will be much. In addition to those that have already been revealed in our previous videos, we also have some returning from FF7 Remake. In fact, the lineup of summons has actually been fleshed out over and above the previous game with new extended side content based on a summon who did not feature in the original Final Fantasy VII, and even more besides. New summons from the...
Because when you pre-order this game, you're going to get the Moogle brothers, the Moogle trio. I don't remember that being a summon, but...
OG? Granted, huge crackpot theory is not KOTOR yet. No KOTOR just yet.
KOTOR?
Everyone's saying Knights of the Round. I get it. Y'all want Knights of the Round. I do too. To me, you don't throw away Knights of the Round in part 1. No. To me, Knights of the Round becomes a actual story element and not just a side quest thing in part 3. Mm-hmm. I hope we don't do anything with Knights of the Round in part 2. I hope they... I mean, granted, it'll be fun if they do. But
Knights of the Round?
It would be way better if you actually make Knights of the Round a story thing for part 3. That it's something you have to go and do, and it's a part of saving the world, of discovering this ancient goddamn mystical sorcery guys that are for some reason...
Let me know what you guys think. Thank you guys so much for watching. And raise your flags.